Freedom was tested in 1948, not on a battlefield, not with gunfire, but in silence, in the heart of Germany. Berlin stood as a fragile island of liberty, surrounded by a vast Soviet sea, a free city cut off from the free world. And Joseph Stalin believed he had found a way to break it without firing a single shot. In June of that year, the Soviets shut everything down. Roads, railways, power lines, food shipments, coal deliveries. Electricity itself faded into darkness. 2.5 million civilians were left behind, families, children, the elderly, facing hunger, cold, and uncertainty. This was not an accident. It was a test. The question was simple. Would America stay or walk away? For Berliners, the nights were long. Apartments grew colder by the day. Mothers rationed bread. Fathers searched for fuel where none remained. Children learned far too early what fear tasted like. To the Soviet Union, Berlin was a pressure point. To the United States, it was a promise. If Berlin fell, the idea of freedom in Europe would fall with it. America chose not to fight with bombs, but with commitment. Instead of retreating, the United States did something the world had never seen before. It decided to feed a city. From the sky, Operation Vittles was born. At first, the effort felt fragile. Pilots flew through narrow air corridors, often in thick fog, rain, and snow. Aircraft landed on overcrowded runways, unloaded, and took off again within minutes. Mistakes meant catastrophe. There was no room for fear, only focus. What looked impossible slowly became routine, and then it became unstoppable. At the center of it all stood General William Tunner, a man who believed logistics could be as powerful as any army. He saw order where others saw chaos. He transformed the airlift into a living machine, a constant rhythm in the skies. Under his command, every flight had a purpose. Every second mattered. Soon, planes were landing in Berlin every 45 seconds. Day and night, American aircraft filled the sky. The C-47 Skytrain carried the legacy of wartime endurance. The C-54 Skymaster carried the future, heavier loads, longer flights, unmatched reliability. They brought coal to heat homes, food to fill empty kitchens, medicine to save lives. But more than that, they brought reassurance. To Berliners looking up from shattered streets, those planes were proof they had not been forgotten. And then something quietly beautiful happened. Lieutenant Gail Halverson noticed children gathered near the airfield fences. They waved, they smiled, they asked for nothing. So he gave them something small, chocolate bars tied to handkerchiefs, dropped gently from the sky, tiny parachutes of hope. Word spread fast. Other pilots joined in. What began as a simple act of kindness became Operation Little Vittles. In a city surrounded by fear, American pilots delivered joy. It was a reminder that America did not just fight with strength, it led with humanity. The world watched. And then came Easter weekend, 1949. In a single day, American and Allied aircraft delivered nearly 13,000 tons of supplies into Berlin, more than the city had ever received by rail before the blockade. The message was unmistakable. You cannot starve a city protected by resolve. You cannot intimidate a nation that refuses to abandon its values. For Stalin, the truth became unavoidable. The blockade was no longer weakening the West, it was strengthening it. In May of 1949, the blockade ended. Not because of negotiation, not because of compromise, but because it had failed. The Berlin Airlift continued for months after, ensuring security, trust, and stability. When it finally concluded, over 2 million tons of supplies had crossed the sky. No bullets fired, no cities destroyed, just discipline, innovation, and an unbreakable promise kept. In the skies over Berlin, America showed the world what leadership truly meant. When freedom was tested, America answered.